Paul, again, thank you for having me. It's really, really great, and I'm really excited to run the session because anxiety is, I think, very important topic right now, especially because of the pandemic. The levels of anxiety seem to have increased significantly, and I think it's very important to address it and talk about the symptoms, the problems, what's causing it, and what we can do about it. So thank you. It's really awesome. It's great to have everyone here as well. Thank you for the introduction as well. So Paul said kind of what I do. I'll just give you a little bit of a background as well. I have worked for about over 10 years in corporate sector, coaching and training within organizations. And I have transitioned into well-being in the last few years. And I've been working with private individuals as well, probably around 10 years as well, with various things, health, stress, anxiety, well-being, be the best you can, finding your sense of purpose or your direction in life. Because I think the way I like to work with people is not to give them tools and techniques, but really help them to connect with themselves and what is it that is important to you to increase your level of peace, your level of happiness, and just general overall feeling of contentment in life. And that doesn't necessarily stem from achieving some goals. So my coaching is a little bit different, probably. The Wellbeing Centre we are setting up is really with the aim of bringing well-being to private individuals and workplace. So we are going to have a number of different practitioners with us who will work with in the workplace and private individuals using the newest techniques really to help them with various emotional well-being and mental health. And so let's talk today about the anxiety. So what I'd like to start with, actually, I'd like to ask you if you can type in what is it that you would like to get out of this session, because there is several things that we can, we've got about half an hour, and then we will take questions, or we will take questions in between. We'll see how we will do it in terms of how the flow is right for us. But I can put the focus on different parts and tips on how to manage anxiety. Thank you very much. That's brilliant. Anybody else? What is important for you? What would you like to get out of this session? How to manage sleep and deprivation of stress. How to deal with difficult colleagues, not to feel bad about not being in contact with them. To stop constant worry. Yeah, that's a common one, isn't it? Especially now during the lockdown. Have you experienced that your level being more open about anxiety in the workplace? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to normalize talking about mental health. You know what? Because it's just so important. 1 in 6 people experience mental health problems at any given time. I try to think one day at a time. Yeah, exactly. And I find it incredible. It's a few years ago, nobody could really talk about mental health in the workplace. Now that the things are changing, really, some organizations are better than others. But my aim is really to normalize the talking and bring in the awareness about what causes it, how it's, what are the symptoms, so everybody knows, and what we can do about it. So the conversations in the workplace can be really lovely, and we can really talk about what's going on for us. So anxiety, we will start by talking about anxiety. Why are we talking about it? Anxiety causes are incredible problems in our lives, and in the lives of our for our work or home. It can cause problems such as it can lead to all the way to depression. Anxiety often starts with intense worry or fear, and then it goes into anxiety, and if it's not managed within a certain amount of time, it can go into a general anxiety disorder, which means that the our thinking is changing, and there's increased level of worry within our mind and within our system as well. And it can really affect it can create health problems such as ulcer. It can create heart attacks. It can create, as I said, depression. It can create relationship breakdowns. It can create, it can cause you your career, because you might not want to, because you might feel anxious about talking in front of people, for example, or doing something wrong, saying something wrong. You might not open your mouth in the meetings, in the important meetings, or doing important presentations, which means somebody else gets picked for some kind of a job, or somebody doesn't even recognize the qualities and strengths you have. Many people with anxiety are afraid to ask for promotion, for example, because obviously that's linked to a level of confidence. However, I know many very successful people with extreme anxiety problems, and they just don't do anything about it, because we don't even know when we have it. This is the problem. We don't even know when the anxiety is occurring. We think it's stress, but in fact, the fact that we are not sleeping, the fact that we are experiencing certain symptoms means that we are having anxiety. And the quality of life, let's face it, is pretty crap with anxiety. It's whether it affects you in only certain moments, or if it affects you on a bigger scale, it affects you in a pretty negative way. And the anxiety actually comes from overthinking. It comes from overthinking about obviously consistent worry and consistent negative thinking and overthinking about something. And that's often based on the past experience. So we'll go into it later. So let's have a look at the actual symptoms of anxiety, and I will share this with you. Let me see, share screen. Give me 1 second. Trying to change my slide. Oh, here we go. Everybody see it? Unless I hear from you, I will say that you can. So first and foremost, the symptoms of anxiety it's pretty important to notice them, because for myself, I've experienced quite a. I used to have anxiety, and that's why I'm passionate about it as well. And I sometimes still get it because I'm an overthinker. I like to think a lot, and I've experienced quite a large amount of trauma in life as well. And my overthinking and my past trauma in life caused me to experience anxiety. However, because it was seen as a sign of weakness, and because I didn't know the symptoms, I didn't even know I had it for a very, very long time, actually. Had I known, I could have done something about it much earlier than I did. So the symptoms of anxiety is really when you feel the sense of restlessness, often irritation, the sense of dread, impending doom, constantly on edge. It very often is, because it comes from overthinking. So there's a lot of thoughts in here in the head. And then obviously because of that, you don't have clarity of mind, and you've got difficulties concentrating. You might experience dizziness, and very often with difficulties with sleeping problems, or falling asleep. Now, the sleeping problems and falling asleep comes from the fact that, as I said, it comes from overthinking, but that overthinking is innocent. Very often. You see, our thoughts consist of subconscious thoughts and conscious thoughts. And lots of those subconscious thoughts were created during even our childhood, You might have experienced bullying, for example. Just to give an example. Somebody might have experienced bullying in childhood, and they've decided that the world is not a safe place, or people are not good, or somebody's called constantly criticizing them. That is called the, you know, the limiting decisions in life. However, what really happens is in those moments we create this idea about the world. We put a meaning to things. You see, that bullying happened with one person, was only that one person or two. However, we generalize it about the whole world. Just it's an innocent subconscious mind just works like that. And then if nothing happens, you just go through life, but this thing stays there unless you work on it, unless you realize it, And this can happen in any moments, really, those aha moments. And in that moment, it's increasing, right? So we then look for proofs to see, to show us how we see the world. So we see the world as dangerous or people as, you know, not being nice to us, then we will be seeking proof everywhere. And then what might happen in the adult life is you might go somewhere and somebody might be not particularly nice to you. Maybe they just had a bad day, for example. However, that goes into that, adds on to that level of thinking before. And then let's say something happened at work and you might have not done very well, and boss might have said something about the quality of your work, not even about yourself, but that stays there in the subconscious. And then that might, you constantly think about it, right, during the day. Then you get distracted, you think about something else, but that stays in the subconscious still because it's attached to that thing from the childhood. And then when you sleep, the subconscious thoughts, it's like when you sleep, it's like a mind detox. So all the conscious thoughts go to sleep, and the subconscious thoughts come to the surface, you know, just like when the dead comes to the surface in the water. And those subconscious thoughts then keep you awake. And very often people can even wake up in panic attacks, for example, because they were not aware of those subconscious thoughts. And then it can cause, let's go into further symptoms: tiredness, anxiety, feeling paralyzed, disassociation, when you feel like it's not even you in that situation. There is more muscle pain, dry mouth, trembling in the tummy, in the body, feeling sick, headaches. You can feel pressure here or here, headaches, pins and needles. There's so many symptoms. Very often, if you're feeling anxiety, you might only experience couple. Some people experience couple, some people experience more. So by recognizing them, you can see, oh, it's coming up. Now, everybody experiences anxiety from time to time, doesn't it? If we are on a roller coaster on a fun ride, and you go right onto the top and you then go down, you might feel some of these feelings, right? That is a level of anxiety, but that is momentarily. Our body is equipped to feel this level of anxiety of maximum half an hour in 24 to 48 hours, because the noradrenaline is being created in our body, and that's kind of like the fight or flight mechanism, and our amygdala and the brain is going into overwork. And that's okay if it happens here and there. Sometimes anxiety can even be productive, but if it's more often than just that half an hour or a few minutes here and there, then it goes into that unproductive mode and affects the quality of our life. And what we do is, because of our thoughts, we react to things in our mind, in our thoughts, right? So we don't even react to what's happening in the real world often. So I'm sure that you've noticed or you've experienced in life moments where you don't even know why you feel anxious. You just do. It's just there. You might be doing something, and out of nowhere, this thing arises. Now, that thing that arises that's the reaction, the subconscious reaction, subconscious thoughts, subconscious association with something, or meaning you might have put something towards the situation. Let's go to the next. So, causes of anxiety. As I said, lots of intellectuals and overthinkers or thinkers experience lots of anxiety because obviously they're thinking and then they put thinking on top of the thinking, and then they're trying to solve anxiety. What I want to say at the beginning of the session as well is, just because we are talking about causes of anxiety and overthinking, just maybe put your thinking aside for the next part of the session, because we'll be talking about what you can do about it, what you can do about anxiety, and just listen to what I'm saying, and also put your thinking and your knowledge, your previous knowledge, out of what you know already aside, and just listen to what I'm saying as if it was a song. Just be with it. Yeah. I've just had a message there come through and I can't see it because I've got screen sharing. Oh, here we go. Let me see. There was a... Oh, there is a lot dealing with anxiety regarding. So hopefully this, what I'm talking about will give you some clear ideas about how to deal with anxiety, even when you're looking for work and in a lockdown. So causes of anxiety are often, it often comes from childhood, as apart from the overthinking, obviously, comes from childhood. I'll put this on. I don't know why my slide is not working. Often, when you're screen sharing, oh, here you go. We have experienced something in the past. So it's like our mind is always going to the past. Our mind is always looking for evidence to whatever is happening to our thoughts in our past. And if you might have experienced a negative event in your past, it's almost like the mind is a little bit weakened because the mind keeps going to that negative even if something is happening. Bullying actually has detrimental effect on people. It can really wreck people's lives. Bullying in childhood and later, domestic violence, broken homes, not being supported by family, high expectations of perfectionism by their parents, because the child is always then wants to be perfect, and nothing is perfect. But let's face it, there's no such a thing like perfect. In a way, things can be done in many different ways, and that can really damage the person in the future. Adverse events in the past that you might have experienced. So on one hand, a lot of people who have experienced adverse events might be experiencing more anxiety. On another hand, I do experience clients, and I do get clients who tell me, Lenka, nothing has happened in my life. I cannot go to anything negative in my childhood or in my life, and I still experience it. And that's the overthinking. That's the misrepresentation of, putting meaning to things. I'll get to it later. It's that perfectionism, high expectations from life, from society, or society on us. When you think, our mind is almost like it's like a body, right? Like, let's say bone. If bone breaks, or if you bang yourself onto the table several times, it will hurt, right? And if you had your arm broken several times in the past, that arm is probably not going to be as strong as the other arm that has not been broken. This is the same with mind. If somebody has experienced adverse events, and a lot of adverse events in life, it can be such as things like loss of job several times in a row, or going through a difficult divorce several times, for example, or separation. It can weaken us kind of in the future until we start noticing that it's the thoughts, and I'll get into it later. Our society, incredible is that this is not only the lockdown, but the anxiety has increased massively in the last few years because of the social media, what's going on out there, and everybody putting at us that things should be perfect, and everybody's got these perfect lives, and this is how you should be, and your career should be perfect. But there is no such a thing. What we need to look at is what's right for you in the moment. I've actually learned during the lockdown, because I'm like the always go-to person, I started to do gardening, which I absolutely love, and I kind of learned to slow down And I absolutely enjoyed it. Pushing yourself too hard, that can really cause you anxiety. And I know quite a few people. And also what can happen, like if you experience some adverse events, you're trying to push through them, and then you rather than being kind to yourself and going, okay, I need to take a rest right now or look at something, you push onto yourself, you push yourself too hard into something, and that creates more anxiety, because of really, you should be a certain way at work, your career should be somewhere, you should be doing something. So sometimes, very often, just be kind to yourself and trusting that everything is okay. If you don't constantly do stuff, that is the way out of it. So it's kind of sometimes looking at what is it that is causing it for you? What is it that is not serving you anymore that you need to let go of? Recognizing it and let go. Very often it is that fear of not being in control. And I know right now, this is the thing with the current pandemic, is that we are not in control. People feel like we are not in control and we don't know what's going to happen. But I tell you one thing, we never know what's going to happen. We are never in control. We only try to be in control. We do everything we can do. We do everything we know and we can do possibly to try to be in control of our life, but we are not. It's an illusionary control. It's an illusionary feeling that if you get married, you will be in control, because you can lose a partner anytime. It's an illusionary thing that if you get a job, you will be in control, because you can lose that job anytime. I once got a job. It was a change project, formerly new team. It was actually for AXA, and we got a new role, and within about 6 months, I think, of being there, they employed a new CEO in France, and they made 20% of the company redundant, including our whole team, the whole team that was newly formed. Not the wisest decision, in my opinion, but it was just basically, it's almost like two companies, because there's AXA Insurance and AXA Head Office. So that just came from head office. But what I mean is, like, there's no such a thing as control. And it's about trusting that everything is fine and everything will be fine. Even if you lose a job right now, you will be fine. You have your inner wisdom, you have your knowledge, and you will be fine. It's about trusting in life and trusting that you don't have the next step in your career that you were planning this year, or maybe not making as much money or going for holidays, will not be fine, because you will be fine. We are always fine. That is a big cause of anxiety right now. And constant looking at what's happening out there, like constant watching TV, it's not really helpful. Because if you constantly watch it, you see that there's something about TV, but there's something about, I talk a lot, look, I've got half an hour. There's something about TV, like they like to create victims and perpetrators and create drama, right? And we watch it, and that drama gets into us, into our mind. So watch it, get what you need to know, and then get out. Other things are such a thing like long-term stress and anxiety. Long-term stress can really cause it. Other conditions, such as a lot of alcohol use, can cause anxiety and long-term health conditions. So I already mentioned is the first thing is to really admit it to yourself that it's there and do something about it, because lots and lots of people that have experienced it are that they know. They feel anxiety, they know something is there, but they don't address it. Now, by not addressing it, it's not going to go away. It's not, because you live with your thoughts. You have about 50 to 1,000 thoughts a year, and a day, sorry. And 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. Now, what happens during period of stress is those thoughts, that during period of stress, you get negative thoughts. If that doesn't go away, that goes into anxiety. the negative thoughts become more ingrained in your mind. And if you don't do anything about it either, then those negative thoughts will become so ingrained in your mind that the longer you leave it, it will become general anxiety disorder, because like your mind kind of works on the negative thoughts. Now, there's nothing you can do about it. Sorry, there is, of course, there is a lot you can do about it. But what I meant was, it's not your fault that they are there. They are innocently created, and just by saying to yourself, "Well, I'm not going to think like that," it's not going to happen. With certain things, it might. So you can, for example, like you can control the certain things, like don't watch too much TV. Repeating yourself that you will be fine, trusting. But often it doesn't go just by saying to yourself once. You need to work on it and keep reminding of yourself of it. And you know what is the antidote of anxiety? It's calmness. We are so used to thinking, running around, multitasking, doing things, and we forgot to be calm. The more you can increase the calmness in your life, the less angst you will be using, or you will be feeling. So it's about calmness, really. That's all that I'll get out of the sharing. What you want to do, and what I can tell you is that this is a universal knowledge. I'm not gonna give you strategies. I'm gonna give you something that is something that if you understand, and you will not understand it today, but this is a universal understanding, is that we all have an ingrained knowledge within us that sorry, I've just got distracted because there was a comment that gets us to be okay. There is a universal knowledge that helps us out of any situation. That is, it's kind of like, some might call it intuition, some might call it universal wisdom, knowledge. There's something within you that even if you feel at the high level of anxiety, there is a little light in you, which is calm. See, what I do with people, I let them access that calm and access that light and spread it around, rather than the other way around. Because this universal wisdom is in you. It tells you when to go to sleep and you are tired. It tells you when to eat. It tells you very often you might be going against your intuition. You might be in a job that you don't enjoy, or it's against your values, but you stay there anyway. And then you experience anxiety. Anxiety is trying to tell you something, that something is not right. And if you listen to that intuitive, that wisdom, if you trust that you will be okay, you will get to the next level of your calmness and to the next level of your life's happiness. And all the thoughts, and another part of this law that I'm talking about is that no matter what we think, no matter what, somebody teaches strategies. I can give you strategies for calming the mind, and I can do another session if you want for calming the mind, etc. But this is really important because it allows you to ground yourself in yourself. And it's the understanding that all emotions come from thoughts. The anxiety comes from your own thoughts, whether conscious or subconscious. And very often they are subconscious. They are there. And it comes from, there's things about guilt, resentment, worry if, thinking about what if I have done something in the past, these are all negative thoughts. You're never gonna feel good. Your feelings are indication of your thinking. You're never gonna feel good if you have these thoughts ingrained in your mind. And through understanding that the thoughts really create your feelings, they created the anxiety, you can start looking at, okay, so what am I thinking? Okay, so this is what it is. And often it feels as a feeling. I had a client the other day, and she felt anxious in the company of seniors. So she's like, I'm fine, I'm a confident person, I've achieved a lot, I'm here and here, but I cannot, like, every time we are in a company of seniors, I lose myself and I go into total rat hole. And this is what I usually do, is, what are you thinking in that moment? And she goes, I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking anything. There's just a big blur in my head, and I get pressure in my shoulders and in the back. I'm not thinking anything. I don't know what to, I'm not thinking. I'm just feeling it. I'm just feeling the angst. I'm like, okay, so what are you feeling? I'm just feeling. I'm feeling I'm going to say something wrong. I'm feeling that they're going to think about something about me. I'm feeling that they're going to, I'm going to ridicule myself. I'm feeling that there are these people that I need to be somebody in front of them. And I'm like, that's the thought. So you might be feeling it. It feels like a feeling, and that's the thought. The thought is, I need to do something right. The thought is, they're gonna potentially ridicule, laugh at me if I say something wrong. That is the thought. But we have another part to us. Whatever we think, because we are alive, and as long as we are alive, it will happen to us. Whatever we will think appears to us like a reality. So while it's our thinking, innocently created, based on our past experiences, the meaning we put towards things, the world is not a safe place, I have to be somewhere in my career, what if I do something wrong, I need to do perfection, but something's going to happen with this pandemic, the world is going to fall apart. It's innocent, it's nothing, there's one thing not to beat yourself up over it, because we all do it. But there is part of you which is called life, which makes this thinking feel real. What I mean by it is that we create our own thinking. So let's say there are two people in a company, and they may be made redundant. And one person creates thinking that it's got something to do with them. They're not good enough. What's going to happen in the future? They might not find a job again. The company is wrong, everybody's wrong, and it's because, because of the boss. And they get into the anxious thinking, spiral down. And they stay with it, right? Now that will create anxiety. The other person, they will go, okay, so what now? I always want to do something else. I always want to try some other job. So let's see if I can do that. Let's see if I can do the other career, or what can I get out of it? I can have a few weeks off, and then go. I'm trusting that everything will be fine ultimately, because everything is fine at the end. What can I get out of this situation? I can have a couple of weeks off and go for holidays perhaps, and then get another job. I can make a change. I can even get a promotion. Maybe I could even get a better job in the next role. Now, they're two identical people almost. They could have almost the same experiences in life, but they created a different thinking about it, innocently. and their feeling was their recording. So there's a lot of thinking and lots of overthinking during anxiety. And really it's about accessing the calmness. Allow yourself to access it. Allow yourself to ground into it the more you can, and depending how much anxiety you might be feeling. The thing about angst is, and overthinking as well, is not to try to push it away, because the more you try to push it away, the more you're putting more thoughts on top of the thoughts, and it's just more thoughts, and it doesn't go away. So it's to shift the attention, shift the focus to something else. I personally, what I use, I just observe it. What I use is I observe it, like, oh, it's there, notice it. And don't do anything about it. Don't do anything with it. By trying to do anything with it, you're just putting more thoughts on top of the thoughts. Just observe what's there. Observe the thoughts that are there. And get access to your inner wisdom. You will be okay. So I'm sure that you've got lots of questions now. Please type away. I've covered quite a lot, and I can imagine that it's a big topic that we are talking about. That's definitely me, somebody said. Somebody said, I have not watched a TV for a week. Exactly. I mean, watch it because you need to know what's going on, obviously. But don't dwell on it, because it does get ingrained in your mind. Will you be sharing these slides? Yeah, I can share them if you want. I'll go to some of the newest comments. Type away the questions. Listen to radio. We need to know what is going on. Very valid points. Please ask any questions you might have. Does it make sense what I was talking about?
It definitely does, Lenka, and it was great. It was great listening to you. I think that there's it's very relevant points that you're making. I think lots of us at this moment over the last few weeks have been kind of having the bits and pieces, the thoughts and the feelings that you spoke about. So it definitely makes sense. We've had some good comments come through whilst I've been talking, actually. Which people are saying that they can definitely resonate with what you're saying.
Someone just asked. I'm glad it does make sense, and it is, it's an understanding of it at intellectual level, and then there is an understanding of it at a feeling level. So that's why I've asked halfway through the session not to think about it, because it is that just feeling it, and for some people actually you might not understand it right now straight away, but that's okay. Just be with it, and notice that it's your thoughts and feelings, and the connection between it. Somebody said, when do you get no support? I had a bit of a fallout with my colleague. I'm due to back in work July. This has been really helpful. I can point you to some books if you want to get more understanding of what I was talking about. How do you find a place? Sorry, there's a lot of. What books would be great? Maybe shall I give them to you now? What do you think, or would it be better to say it now or send it in email with the?
It's entirely up to you. We can put a note on the group if you want, or we can talk about them now. There have been some.
Okay, well, I can mention them and then I can send them to you as well. So there's a Sydney Banks book. Sydney Banks. called The Missing Link. It's a very small book, and I think it will tell you a lot. It is. Then there is The Power of Now, obviously, which is very famous, but Eckhart Tolle. I said it obviously just because it's a very well-known book. It's very useful. Actually, I have something about silence, stillness and silence. I can have a look. It's a book by Eckhart Tolle, and it's just got a few sentences and allows you to be still. Somebody's asked how to access stillness. Actually, doing something that is that shifts your focus. Sometimes it's like literally being with animals, looking at animals, doing gardening for some people, cooking. It shifts because your thoughts cannot stay on your worry and be thinking about recipe. And there is something about nature as well. Another useful book, just so it's just a general and understanding anxiety and how amygdala works in the brain, and might give you some other tools. It's called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. I don't know by who it is by, but it's called Rewire Your Anxious Brain. And so I can, I will send it. I will give it to Paul, and you can, and he will put in an email because you are asking for it. Do you have any other questions?
There's a question that's come through.
Mm-hmm.
There's a question that's come through, and somebody's asking if you're a high achiever and someone to miss out on things, and they want to get basically everything that makes them. They don't want to miss out on anything that makes them feel that they will not have all the tips, etc. How would you deal with that, basically?
Can you say it again? I've lost you for a little bit. If you're a high achiever.
Someone's asking if you are someone who is a very high achiever,
mm-hmm.
miss out on anything, as that makes them feel they will not have all the tips and the information, etc. How do you deal with that?
You see, I would question what is a high achiever, because high achievers often are perfectionists who kind of work with what society put on us in terms of always must have more in life, achieve more in career. I know a lot of high achievers who suffered an extreme burnout. You have to understand that just being a high achiever, I used to be one of them. Not that I'm not, but that doesn't mean that you will get anywhere faster. So allow yourself, is that high achieving costing you quality of your life? Ask yourself that question. Because if you're a high achiever and you love your life, perfect. But if you call yourself high achiever and all your focus on achieving and doing things and thinking, ask yourself a question: is this serving me? Is this really serving me, how I am being right now? And look at what thoughts are there. Because there could be individual thoughts, sometimes we create meanings about things. If I get somewhere, then I'll make more money and I'll have life like this. But that's like a vision of the future. But then you don't allow yourself to live here now. And that vision of the future can sometimes be there for 10, 15 years until you get somewhere. So it's finding that balance between doing a job you want, achieving, looking at what is a high achiever. Also is that high achiever for yourself, achieving and doing things to perfection, or for the company you're working for? Because there is often mismatch. I always find people who are doing things to perfection that doesn't actually exist. Because what is perfection for the company is something different. So just do what they want you to do, and that's it. That is achieving. That is high achieving already. I hope it answered the question.
I think it's really good advice. Definitely, I'm sure it did. And we've had lots of really, really positive comments as well from people saying that it's great advice. People chatting as well about bits and pieces that they like to do. So yeah, it seems that everybody has enjoyed the session and taken a lot from it. So thank you so much. So I have a question for you. How can people get in touch with you and carry on the conversation if they wish?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and I hope that it's been useful for a number of you. And really thank you, Paul. To get in touch with me, so I've got my website is lenkah.com, and my email is info@lenkah.com, and our Wellbeing Centre website will be up and running in about 2 weeks' time, and that is wellbeingcentrelondon.com. So have a look there, and we'll have some amazing practitioners working with us that you can find there as well. So thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Just looking at the comments coming through, saying how much they've enjoyed listening to you. Really excellent session. Thank you for being so in depth with the time frames. Everybody saying how much they've taken from it. So thank you so much. It seems to be a big success. If you know, I know that we've been speaking about doing various bits and pieces, you know, now and you know in the weeks to come. So watch this space, everybody. I'm glad that you enjoyed having Lenka with us. It's a great addition to the community, as everyone's saying. So thanks so much for your time, and thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate all the support.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, everyone.
Bye. Bye.